This episode of the Demonic Compendium contains spoilers for the following games. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to a pint-sized new episode of the Demonic Compendium, the show where I discuss the mythology, design, and game history of your favorite Megami Tensei demons. Now, since today's the day Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse is out in the States, this is gonna be a small episode. Hope you all don't mind if it's a little short. It's so tiny that, Today we're talking about Sukuna-Hikona. In Japanese mythology, Sukuna-Hikona is a very tiny god associated with healing and sake. He's mainly known for his small size, but he's got some pretty big accomplishments under his belt, such as a little thing called helping to build the world with his best buddy Okuninushi. Sukuna-Hikona traveled to Izumo in a boat made out of tree bark while wearing goose feathers, and when he met his soon-to-be best friend, bit his face. A rocky start for sure, but hey, you can't argue with results. Sukuna-Hikona's Compendium entry from... this is kind of embarrassing. I don't have a Compendium entry for today's episode. Except for Apocalypse, which just came out today, he's never appeared in a localized Compendium before, so I guess we'll just move on to design. Sukuna-Hikona first appeared in Shin Megami Tensei 2 with this Kaneko design. I imagine a lot of players aren't too familiar with this design, and for good reason, as no game utilizing this version of the demon was ever brought over to the States. Kaneko's first Sukuna-Hikona design has only been in Shin Megami Tensei 2, Shin Megami Tensei If, and the MMO game Shin Megami Tensei Imagine, which was localized even though the storylines featuring him weren't. Honestly, there isn't too much to say about this design, in fact it's pretty generic. However, I believe the simplistic design was an intentional choice here. Since Sukuna-Hikona is so small, his design needed to be simplistic enough to convey all of his features into a very small sprite. Of course, that's not to say there aren't important touches worth mentioning. I love that he's given his bow, and while invisible on his sprite work, I enjoy the touch Kaneko gave him by having his headband adorned with a 5 yen coin to signify his smaller stature. Sukuna-Hikona was given a second Kaneko design specifically for Raido Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army. He appears shriveled and decrepit with long matted hair and hollow eyes symbolizing his madness. This is to convey that such a tiny being should be taken seriously as an antagonistic force. The main design touch that stands out to me here are his fangs, which just remind me that he bit his best friend on the cheek. And with teeth like those, you have to imagine it hurt. Let that sink in. Moving on to the diminutive deity's most iconic design by Shigenori Soejima, Sukuna-Hikona is probably best known as Naoto's initial persona in Persona 4 and a member of the Fortune Arcana. The Persona 4 visual data art book mentions that, true to its original myth, Naoto's persona is tiny but deadly, and it is true that Naoto's persona is one of the smallest we've ever seen in the series. Much of its design in this game is connected to young males, or things often associated with them, which is a recurring symbolic issue that connects to Naoto's character. He wears a boys' school uniform, and his design is evocative of insects and tokusatsu shows like Kamen Rider. Lastly, we come to Sukuna-Hikona's most recent design, first appearing in Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. This design was handled by Masayuki Doi, and honestly, I think this may be his best design in the series. Everything here fits really well into his mythology. He's even got his goose feather clothes and his bark canoe. Tied around his arm and leg are traditional omamori knots, which are often attached to offerings or prayers at shrines in Japan. Being a sacred deity in Japanese mythology, as well as playing a guardian role in this game, the knots are a fitting design touch, since omamori essentially means to protect. On to game history! Sukuna-Hikona plays a small role in Shin Megami Tensei 2 as one of the Kunitsu trapped in shrines and tasked with carrying one of Masakata's body parts, specifically his left leg. If the player has an empty demon space upon this encounter, Sukuna-Hikona will join them, and he makes for a pretty good free ally, having access to instant death and revival spells. Sukuna-Hikona appears as an NPC during the Chain of Curse storyline in Shin Megami Tensei Imagine. He is usually helpful and warns players about the evil forces. This is also the only 3D model appearance of the original Kaneko design, and I think it's really funny to see him alongside an actual person. He's so tiny. Makes me really wish he'd been in the Raido games or something. Except, oh wait, he was! Sukuna-Hikona, as previously mentioned, plays a very large role in Raido Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army as the demonic being controlling General Munakata to create, well, the Soulless Army, essentially acting as the game's penultimate boss. If you want a bit more information here, you should check out my Soulless Army video. While not appearing in the sequel, he is referenced, and we get a bit more explanation as to why a major deity of healing went completely crazy and tried to kill everyone. Sukuna-Hikona's new design for Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse was first revealed during a Sega Nico Nico stream, revealing his role as a member of the Polytheistic Alliance, or Divine Powers. He's a guardian of the Ark, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because this game just came out here. Now it's time for the big one. Persona. There's no denying that everything else Sukuna-Hikona has done in the entire franchise pales in comparison to his Persona incarnation. Originally appearing as Naoto's initial persona after she came to terms with her shadow, Sukuna-Hikona has gone on to appear in nearly everything else associated with the title, reappearing as her persona in both fighting games, Persona Q, and the rhythm game Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which, I've gotta say, it's pretty cool to see Sukuna-Hikona wielding a bow again. Not confined to just the games, Naoto's persona has appeared in both anime series, the various manga, and even collectible card games. The tiny shorts-wearing persona has certainly gotten around more so than any other Megaten incarnation of the deity, and is known for having access to instant death spells and almighty attacks. Overall, Sukuna-Hikona has had an interesting track record in the franchise. While primarily known as a persona, I think it's important not to overlook the roles we've seen from him as a demon as well. With this newest incarnation of the being making its debut, I'm hoping this isn't the last we'll see of our new friend. And so there you have it, Sukuna-Hikona, the diminutive doctor deity of drinking. Did I leave out something you thought was important? Was I just plain wrong about something? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know who you'd like to see me talk about in future episodes. That's gonna do it for this episode of the Demonic Compendium, and I'll see you next time. But be careful while you rest that a demon doesn't take over your body.